Hi, Ashley.
Hey, John.
How are you?
Great. Good to see you.
It's nice to see you as well.
We are recording.
That's excellent to know. We're going to get started in just a second. It looks like people are still popping in. I know it's right at 3. We like to be punctual, but let's give just a minute or two in case a few more people are just running a couple of minutes late. So, Ashley, unless you have a humorous antidote, I'll just be quiet if I can for 2 minutes.
I don't think I do. Not when put on the spot, at least. Maybe I can think of one in the next couple of minutes to entertain you with.
Alrighty, well, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll let people know at the end if they arrived late that they can go back and see this. So we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is John Brenneman. I am the president here at MOAA Vacations. I am joined today by Ashley Zaldivar. She is the strategic account sales manager with Uniworld Boutique River Cruises. And we're also joined by Kathy Artino, who's with the MOAA Charities. Before we get started, I did have a couple of procedural items I wanted to go over real quick. When you decide that you'd like to join us on this cruise, we ask that you fill out a booking form that's on the website that we did with all the information on this cruise. We did just about 10-15 minutes ago email everybody a link to that booking form. We ask you to do that so that way we can timestamp when those requests come in. We do have 158 people on today's webinar, and there's only 42 staterooms and suites remaining. I think we've got plenty of room for everybody to go, but there's also the issue of selecting cabins. So if there's just a few cabins left in a category, depending on the order people sign up, the order when we let them select the cabins that they want. So our presentation today is going to be in 4 parts. In just a few minutes, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley. Ashley is going to talk to us about Uniworld Boutique River Cruises. That's the company that we chose for this river cruise. So she's going to tell us a little about the company behind the ship and the brand. And then we're going to turn it over to Kathy. Kathy's going to talk about the MOAA Charities. And basically that's the reason I think most of us are here, to hear more from Kathy about the great work that they do and what makes this cruise so special. After that, Ashley and myself are going to go actually through a virtual cruise with you. We're going to take you day by day, show you the ports that we're going to be in, and talk about the activities that are going to be included that day. And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with some information specifically on the ship that we're sailing on, the São Gabriel, as well as show you the suites and staterooms that are available, so hopefully you can select the one that best meets your needs. This is the 4th in a series of 4 webinars. This is the final one that we're doing, where we're going through special MOAA group departures. The first 3 were on what we call MOAA signature groups. And I know not everybody is familiar with that term. We do have some people that have been on a previous signature group already booked on this cruise, as well as we have a number of people that have been on a previous signature group or are booked for a future one that are joining us. So thank you for that. But I want to take just a second and let people know what the signature groups are. In 2021, we have a Mississippi River cruise from Memphis to New Orleans in July. In December, we have a cruise from Nuremberg to Vienna, which is highlighting the European holiday markets. And then in 2022, we have a Holland and Belgium cruise, which is sailing during tulip time. So both Holland and Belgium will be awash in color as all the flowers are blooming. So one of the things about the signature groups is they're rare. As I mentioned, we only do 2 a year. But the other couple of things that make them unique, the first of is they're exclusive departures. So, for example, the MOAA Charities group or the signature groups, everyone on board the ship will be a MOAA member or a guest of a MOAA member. So it's not open to the public. Now, as a MOAA member, you can bring along as many friends and family members as you'd like. So if you need 2 cabins, 3, or how many ever you need. But the key is that they're not available to the public. So everyone on board will be a MOAA member or a guest. And probably more importantly on the signature groups is they're escorted by both MOAA leadership and MOAA staff. We do that to make sure that this is a completely stress-free vacation. Plus, it allows us to do some unique events on board, and we'll get into some of those a little bit later. But they really are rare opportunities for you to join us on a trip that is really something special. But we're not here today to talk about the signature groups. I just kind of wanted to mention that this is a series. If you're interested in any other ones, we do have them. If you go to moavacations.com, you'll see a link to the signature groups. All of them are there. You can get all the information you want. But with no further ado, let's get started. I'm going to turn it over, ladies and gentlemen. I introduced her briefly before, but I'm happy to introduce again Ashley Zalabar, who's going to talk to us about Uniworld.
Thanks so much, John. I know I, for one, am super excited to hear about the MOAA Charities. I have been privy to our conversations these last few webinars about the signature groups, but I'm really excited to get to meet Kathy today and hear all about the different charities. But we are here to discuss Portugal, Spain, and the Douro. And I know that several of the folks that are joining us here on this webinar today have traveled with MOAA on Uniworld cruises in the past, but I also am aware that there are some joining us today who maybe have not yet taken the plunge. Maybe their fellow MOANs have told them about these trips and they have got their interest piqued, and they're here to learn more. So I thought here at the very beginning of the webinar, we might chit chat a little bit about who Uniworld is and what makes us truly the most unique luxury boutique all-inclusive river cruise line on the market today. And that really is comprised of what you see here on this slide. First and foremost, we are truly all-inclusive. So John will talk a lot more about some of the offers we include in addition to versions and the process works, but it's all included, from soup to nuts, your food, your beverage, whether that's coffee, soda, tea, or your preference is more on the beer, wine, and spirits line of things. It's all included. And we also have an amazing choice of carefully curated experiences. Some of these are very elevated and more private. Some days you have several different choices. But always we'll have morning excursions, and more often than not, we'll have excursions in the afternoon. And that's pretty rare when it comes to river cruising. More often than not, you'll just get one. But Uniworld typically offers 2 per day, and that's a really great value. I hope that everyone brings their appetite, because the cuisine is second to none. We're going to hear a little bit more about the cuisine in just a moment, but it truly is farm to table experience. You do get to really get a taste for the local culture and some of the local fare, because our chefs on board are receiving daily deliveries from local artisans and farmers markets in the area. So it's a very great way for everyone to experience the local culture by way of food. And speaking of food and being served, the service is second to none. There is a mantra that we hold near and dear at Uniworld, and that is that there's no request too large and no detail too small. So if you can dream it, Uniworld can do it. I traveled once with a gal who at breakfast asked for Dr. Pepper, and she liked to drink Dr. Pepper at breakfast, and we didn't have it on board. The next day, boom, she had Dr. Pepper, and it preceded her at every single meal for the rest of the vacation. So truly an all-inclusive and service-oriented cruise line. I will say, however, our ships are really what set us apart from the pack. Each one is luxuriously decorated by our partners at the Red Carnation Hotel Collection. They curate and and really provide original artwork, and they are procuring amazing antiques from all across the globe. Some of our ships even have over $1 million in original artwork on board. But you can hear from me all day long about it. John and I thought that right now would be a great time to show you a little bit more about it with a brief video. So John and I are going to turn off our cameras just for a hot minute to give you the best viewing experience. You might see a white screen with the MOAA logo come up, and that's entirely normal. But John and I both will be back after a brief word from Uniworld.
Like the world's most admired masterpieces, every Uniworld cruise is one of a kind. But our story began long before our unique ships ever set sail, thanks to our sister brand, the 5-star Red Carnation Hotel Collection. Years ago, Red Carnation led to an inspired idea. How could we bring the experience of staying in the world's best hotels to the rivers? From there, the Uniworld Boutique River Cruise Collection was born. From the moment you step on board any of the 17 ships, you'll notice that unique is what we do best. Every ship is a work of art on water, complete with handcrafted furniture commissioned exclusively for Uniworld, custom-made fabrics and fixtures, and original artwork from the likes of Picasso and Matisse. We feature the most professionally trained and tenured staff on the rivers, but the one thing that sets our team apart the most is their genuine passion and love of hospitality. We take care of it all because we've included it all, with ultra-inclusive amenities that take your cruise from great to grand. Dining on board is an art form, and our chefs have perfected their creative technique over the years. Our culinary philosophy is guided by a farm-to-table approach that serves you 5-star caliber meals made from fresh ingredients, locally sourced from the destinations you visit. Our cruises feature signature recipes from B. Tolman, founder of our sister Red Carnation Hotel Collection and author of the highly acclaimed cookbook, A Life in Food. To think your cruise is this wonderful before ever setting foot ashore, but the best may be yet to come, with your choice of included excursions designed to showcase the authentic culture, sights, and cuisine of the places you'll visit. Make today a masterpiece with the world's best and most awarded luxury river cruise line.
I know I, for one, can't wait to get back on board the Uniworld ships. It has been too long for me, that is for sure. And this ship is going to be no different. The SS São Gabriel that John mentioned just a few moments ago is brand new. The ship will debut this year with more space and a higher staff to guest ratio than any of our other ships have utilized in the Portuguese market. We have the addition of butler service on board this ship for any suite category, and 2 dining venues, not just a restaurant, but also an alfresco option on the rooftop deck. It's going to be amazing. We have 4 grand suites, 12 standard suites, 20 French balconies, 10 deluxe, and 4 classics, ranging in size all the way up to over 300 square feet. So John will be going into much greater detail about the ship a little bit later, looking at the different categorical levels. We'll get to see a few photos, but just wanted to announce that it is an all-new ship, and I thought y'all might be very, very excited to hear that you will be amongst the very first guests experiencing the ship. John did mention that we've got a 4-part webinar for you today. So we are just about to get into the day-to-day itinerary in which we discuss each one of the days that you see here on the screen in depth. So this is just a brief overview slide for you to get a little bit of an idea as to where this cruise will be going on the map. But we thought before we got into all of the details, we would have our friend Kathy pop on camera for a hot minute and talk to us about the topic of the hour, the MOAA Charities. And that's why we're all here today, isn't it, Kathy?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully you can see me okay. I am in the MOAA offices. Here we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, thank you so much, Ashley and John. Hello, everyone. I am Kathy Artino. I am the program manager for the MOAA Foundation, which is one of MOAA's 2 charities. And today I'm going to introduce you to the charities and tell you how you can support our efforts, of course, beyond attending this fabulous cruise. I'm proud to say that both charities, the MOAA Foundation and the MOAA Scholarship Fund, have earned GuideStar's Platinum Seal of Transparency. So when you do donate, you can be confident that your donation is going to a reputable charity. First up, I'll introduce the MOAA Scholarship Fund. It was established, believe it or not, in 1948. And during that time, we have given more than $160 million to more than 16,000 students. I know, it's quite incredible, and we're so proud of that. How do we do that? We do that in the form of interest-free loans, scholarships, and grants. Students do repay those interest-free loans after they graduate, and that money goes back into the program to help fund scholarships for future scholars. An incredible point I want to make about the scholarship fund is that 100% of every dollar that you donate does go to a student, which is quite remarkable. While the scholarship fund has been around for more than 70 years, and it's very well established, as some of you might know, our other charity, the MOAA Foundation, is truly in its infancy. Right now, we're in our 6th year, and in that short time, we truly have had some great success, and we're really hoping to build on that in the future. So the foundation serves everyone in the uniformed services community, all branches, regardless of rank. So we offer that support in 4 main areas. So the first 2 is career transition and then professional education outreach. These consist of career fairs, educational webinars, finance and benefits briefs, and then these events are put on by MOAA's amazing career transition experts, and we're so thankful for them, and they do such an amazing job for us. Next, and very important, as I am a military spouse myself, is military spouse professional development. Now, in a normal year, this would consist of in-person employment symposia, and we put those on all over the world, at installations all over the world in partnership with Hiring Our Heroes, who most of you have heard of and know of. Again, because of the pandemic, those in-person events, they've been put on hold. But we do hope to get back to them very, very soon, as soon as it is safe to do so, which I hope is soon. And last but not least, community outreach grants that are awarded to qualifying MOAA chapters that are working in their local communities, which is really important because obviously we have national MOAA, but our chapters work in their local communities supporting uniformed services, their families, veterans, survivors and spouses. So that's very impactful for those local communities. Now, during the past year with COVID, the foundation was able to establish the COVID-19 Relief Fund, which most of you have heard of or know about. It has been highly successful, especially in filling gaps in service, specifically for veterans who didn't serve a full career, survivors, and then caregivers. Because of that success, we're hoping to build on it and offer enduring emergency relief, as that would be our 5th area of support. And we hope to launch that in Q3, Q4 of this year, and then going into next year. So how do we offer this much needed support? Well, of course, it's through donations. Primarily, though, the most impactful way you can donate is through recurring donations and then planned gifts like trusts, annuities, or bequests. So if you have donated to our charities in the past, thank you so much. Besides joining us on this amazing cruise that we're all looking forward to, actually a portion of your cruise fare is going to be graciously donated back to the charities. That's how it's supporting the charities. You can support the work that we do by going to moa.org/donate. Now, if you'd like to read more, because that was a very short introduction to everything that we do, and it only encompasses a very small part of what we do. In the right-hand side here, you can see the handout section. We do have a handout. It's called the MOAA Charities Impact Guide, and it's quite robust, and you can read all about the great work that we do. So I know that was a lot of information, like I said, but thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being here. We look forward to seeing you next year in Portugal. So back to you, John and Ashley. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Kathy. I think all of us are so excited that we get to have a very small hand in working towards supporting those two amazing organizations within MOAA. So thank you so much. We appreciate you. I know you're planning on popping off camera, so I'll wave bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. So I thought right now we might take a look at a little bit of what's included in this itinerary, just for us to continue on the broad strokes and see what we've got coming up. A 7-night cruise, of course, 8 days. And you will be in a Riverview stateroom. If you're talking ocean cruise, you might hear the term ocean view, and those are hard to come by. But on a Uniworld cruise ship, every room has a view of the water. And we will of course, be sailing on the all-new SS São Gabriel. 24 meals will be included, as well as 9 excursions, and this also includes some choice is yours options, which means that you may have multiple options in any given morning or any given afternoon, and these are all fully hosted by English-speaking local experts. Along the way, we will be able to visit 7 UNESCO World Heritage Sites as well. And then as we get into the beginning day on board, I thought, I believe John wants to chat with us a little bit about the embarkation process. John?
I did. You know, I just love this picture. I love that we start on it. Every time I see this picture, I just wish I was there. So we're going to begin now our virtual cruise. So if you can, imagine along with us that it's now June 5th of 2022. And at long last, the airplane touches down in Porto and your vacation's about to begin. I'm sure a lot of you have been on cruises before. When the day you're sailing, your day begins with you sitting around in a cruise terminal waiting to board your ship. That doesn't sound like vacation to us. So we made sure we set this up. So from the second you leave the airport and you get on that transfer to the ship, that you're on vacation. So we're going to walk through real quick how that's a little different, how that's going to work. So when you're dropped off at the ship, or when they bring you to the ship, you'll be met by ship personnel, and they'll take your luggage for you. You're welcomed on board immediately when you arrive on the ship. They take you to the registration desk where you register. So it's just all a seamless process. Now, if your room's not ready, what they'll do is they'll invite you to, retire to the lounge. Your vacation's begun. I'll talk about it a little bit later, but there is an unlimited beverage package as part of this cruise. So once you check in at the desk, go up to the lounge, feel free to enjoy a drink or two while you're waiting for your stateroom to be available. If you arrive early enough, and a lot of people often do in Europe, they'll take an overnight flight, so they'll arrive early in the morning. If you're on board when lunch is served, you're invited to join for lunch. So really, from the second you step on board, you are a valued guest and treated thusly. The ship is docked. They do have your luggage, which you'll find in your stateroom a little later in the afternoon. So if you'd like to disembark and wander around Porto and see the sights, you're more than welcome to. They do have bicycles and Nordic walking sticks if you want to get a little exercise after the long journey. But basically, as I said, as soon as you get there, your vacation begins. This evening, we have a welcome reception. This will be in the lounge. This will be your opportunity to meet the MOAA Charities staff that will be hosting this cruise for us, as well as all the other members that are on board. And then after that, we have our first dinner. The ship does overnight in Porto. So if you'd like to disembark after dinner and see Porto at night, it's a great opportunity to go out and see the city. Most European cities, as I'm sure you know, are different at night than they are at the day. They have a different energy to them. Or, it's been a long day of traveling the night before. If you've come straight from the States, perhaps stop by the lounge after dinner for a nightcap or two, and then get a good night's sleep, because we really get started the next day. So as we go into day 2, we are once again in Porto. Once again, if you're an early riser, want to get some exercise or just want to get out and about off the ship, you can. We have breakfast, and then once we have breakfast, I'm going to turn it over to Ashley in just 1 second, and she's going to go through each day and tell us a little bit about the port, and more importantly, talk about the excursions that are for your use if you'd like to take them. Ashley mentioned they're all optional. Some days you'll have a choice. You can choose which one you want to go on. Some days you'll have one in the morning and one in the afternoon. You're not required to go on any of them. You can just choose one or the other. You can go on both. You can go on none of them. I mean, and I know I'm going to say this a lot of times, but it is your vacation. We want you to do whatever you would like to do to most enjoy this. We are going to go through a lot of information in this portion, and obviously we've gone through a lot before. I do note that we've had some people that have signed in since we got started. We will email everyone a copy of this video presentation when we're done. As I mentioned, this cruise is available to you and your friends and family that like to join, so you can send this video to them if they'd like to see it. Kathy mentioned her flyer. If you've clicked on that, there is a handout on this cruise as well that you could share. So, and of course we have our website. I know I mentioned that before, but if you go to moavacations.com, it's a complete website just on this cruise that has, I think, 5 or 6 pages that have all the information we're going through. So don't worry about taking notes. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy as Ashley is going to take us on a cruise of Portugal on the Douro River.
Thank you so much, John. Yes, day 2 on your cruise is when we really begin hitting the streets, as it were. And we have 2 choices of excursions today. And John is correct, these occur right after breakfast. You have 2 choices. You may either take the Porto City Tour, which will be walking straight from the ship into town with, again, your Uniworld appointed English speaking guide, or you may choose to do as the locals do. Either way, you will be seeing this city like you never have before. If you take the Porto City Tour, you get to see the UNESCO designated 19th century stock exchange palace. And it has an amazing Moorish revival style Arab room, and you get a panoramic tour. The town is very, very vibrant. It's simultaneously urban while also being very moody and romantic. So you'll see colorful multi-story houses, and you see the Douro estuary over there as well, medieval alleys that are snaking through neighborhoods enclosed by 14th century walls. So it's a very, very eclectic city is what I will say about it. Lots to see and do. And of course, you get to visit Porto's austere hilltop cathedral before driving down to the Riviera. Now, if you chose instead to take the Do As the Locals Do Porto walking tour, you're probably wondering, these are 2 walking tours. I don't understand the difference. What does Do As the Locals Do mean? Well, periodically when you cruise with Uniworld, we have a fun option to take the local transportation. I've done it myself in Paris on the subway. I've done it via Vaporetto in Italy with Uniworld. And here is your chance to do it the Portuguese style. And this is a lot of fun because they have a historic tram in Porto that's called the Electrico. And you will have the opportunity to ride this historic tram and discover Porto the way the locals do. Its cars are beautifully maintained, and the entire group that chooses this mode of travel will have the opportunity to enjoy the tram. It kind of reminds me of San Francisco. Again, I've never done it myself, but I'm super excited to hear about all of your experience when you get to try it You do get a view from the cathedral as well, and then the tram will wind its way down through narrow old town alleys before all of you will have the opportunity to stop for a refreshment. So lots of fun to be had on day 2. There's only the morning excursions on that day because we do have quite a bit of sailing to do that afternoon. So that afternoon we will be sailing. And then on day 3, when we wake up, as John mentioned, you do have breakfast, and following breakfast, our excursions begin. We have one opportunity for a morning excursion, and you have an opportunity in the afternoon for an excursion as well. In the morning, we have a visit to the Douro Valley Museum. This is the oldest demarcated wine growing district in Europe. And why is that? What makes port wine what it is, right? Everyone wants to know. You learn all about the region's unique geology and winemaking history. There are exhibits there in the museum, much like what you see here in the photo, that were once home to port winemakers Real Campagna Vella. They let you see kind of how the process of making port has evolved over the centuries. You also get to see an interactive map, and there's even a very large boat on display, and that boat is called a rebelo. That is a traditional Portuguese vessel that carried wine directly from the vineyards to Porto to be sold by the merchants there. So it's very fun, it's very informative, and you even get a little wine sniffing demonstration where you're able to sniff differing vials of concentrated fragrance, and those types of fragrance are what make the different smells and aromas of the port wine itself. So a lot of fun, a wine focus, but also a history focus and a geology focus. And then in the afternoon, you get to travel up winding roads with spectacular views on board one of our luxury motor coaches at a local quinta. Day 4, we get to head ashore for a choice of excursions, including a tasting at a prestigious port wine estate, or instead of that, you may choose a vineyard hike. Both of these are morning. So you would choose either the Quinta de Sexo guided tour with tasting, or the hike in the morning. And then in the afternoon, everyone will go on the archaeological park tour of the Coa Valley. So I'm going to start with the morning, and we'll talk a little bit about each one of the excursions that you may choose from. First, we'll start with Quinta de Sexo. And again, this is a prestigious port wine estate. You get to see the unique landscape that has been shaped by wine growers for 2 millennia here in Portugal. The stone terraces curving around the steep slopes hold soil that is largely the creation of human intervention. And I mean this sincerely. People have laboriously been mining the soil themselves. What does that mean? Soil mining, that's a new term. Well, essentially, the native soil of Portugal contains silver schist stone. Now try to say that 3 times fast, John. Silver schist stone. Not an easy one, definitely a tongue twister. But over the centuries, the locals have literally laboriously and manually broken up that soil. And so it is now usable, sandy soil that can produce the amazing port wines that we know and love today. And they call it anthroposoil. So it's very, very interesting, very, very unique. And this process has produced port wine in such a fascinating way, and it's really blending the tradition versus the modernity. So you get to learn a lot about it, but the facility there is state-of-the-art, and you get to sample some exceptional ports while you're there in one of the tasting rooms. So you get a beautiful view of the spectacular Douro River Valley while you're there, and if you're someone that would rather, get out there and get active, we have that vineyard hike. But don't worry, just because you've taken the hike doesn't mean that you miss the wine. You will be handsomely rewarded at the end of your steep-ish hike. It is a bit of an incline, so bring your hiking boots with a tasting of some amazing port wine. And they'll talk with you a little bit on your way about the 6 grape varietals that dominate port, and you discover which ones are grown in the Douro River Valley and why throughout your hike. So not just exercise, but education as well, with a little wine drizzled over the top. In the afternoon, I mentioned that everyone will be, again, if you choose, coming along with us to the archaeological park of the Coa Valley. Now, this truly is an expedition worthy of Indiana Jones. And why is that? This is because we will be adventuring. We will be wearing our hiking boots. We will be doing some climbing into some hard to access locations, as well as viewing some real astonishing collections of prehistoric carvings. The oldest images here in the Koa Valley were etched into, again, it's the stone silver schist, right? So that's what they've used. It's a very hard soil that makes up this region. So this has not been manually packed down, right? This is the originating soil, that stone silver schist, and these carvings have been etched into the walls dating back to approximately 22,000 BC to 20,000 BC. So it's very, very interesting. This particular collection of prehistoric carvings was accidentally discovered when there were folks on an expedition scouting for a proposed dam project in the region, and they stumbled upon these carvings by accident. So truly an amazing discovery that occurred back in the 1990s. So fairly recent, only about 31 years ago or so that these were found. So then after you view the carvings there, you will then go out with your knowledgeable guide into the valley itself to see these sites for yourself. It's a truly illuminating adventure, and we just want to make sure everyone understands that if you come with us on this particular excursion, exploring these sites does require sturdy hiking footwear. So you want the hiking boots to definitely cover your ankle and be very, very secure. You know, you have to definitely be in some good physical shape to get up into some of these very rocky, slippery, and hard to access locations. But you will have an experienced English-speaking guide there with you every step of the way. So after you've done your Indiana Jonesing, hopefully you have a restful night's sleep that evening, because the next morning we get to Salamanca. And this is one of the most well-known stops on our trek through the Douro River Valley. Salamanca is called the Golden City for its tawny sandstone buildings that you see pictured here. It boasts a dozen beautiful and very historic churches, including 2 cathedrals. The newest one was built in the 16th century, and the old cathedral, which dates back to the 12th century. And you can only enter it if you go through the new cathedral first. So you get to walk with your guide through the Plaza Mayor, and it's really a very ornate area, very picturesque there. You get to see the food hall as well, which is one of Spain's best. You discover that yourself when you get to sample local chorizos, local cheeses, olive oil, and meats with your guide's assistance, of course. And then if you're like me and you've got the shopping bug, you'll even get a little bit of time to browse through the shops on the Plaza Mayor and enjoy a tapas lunch on your own, actually, on that day. And the guide will recommend some great places for you to dine. We don't have any additional excursions on day 5, so we're going to move on to day 6. Today is a really special day because we get to visit a real live castle, Castello Rodrigo. This is both the name of the hilltop castle that we're visiting, as well as the local village surrounding it. We do take a bit of a coach ride to get through the wonderfully scenic countryside to get up to the castle, and this region is noted for its honey, which we do get to sample a little bit later on this particular excursion. It derives its very peculiar flavor from the local fields of wild lavender and the almond groves. So not just a nutty flavor, but also a floral flavor as well. And so this has become known as one of the most unique honey in the area. The castle ruins stand high atop Morova Mountain, telling the tale of actually what was once a border strife with Portugal's struggle for independence. So some of this castle does remain in ruins, as you see here pictured. You get to learn all about the border strife and the ensuing chaos, but we do leave it standing as is, or they leave it standing as is, so that we can hear all about the amazing culture. Taking the amazing view from the ancient stone walls, and then you get to step down through the cobbled lanes of the village, passing the old pillory, the Manueline Church, and the town's market square. Not all history, of course. Once you get down to the market square, you do get a chance to sample some delicious local treats, including that honey I talked a little bit ago about. So a lot of fun. You end your visit this day with a newly restored tea house where you get to enjoy a refreshing beverage. Day 7, there's a lot to do on this particular day as well. We have 2 excursions. They both occur in the morning. So you have your choice of the Riviera walking tour or the choice of the Guimajeres city tour. And Guimajeres is popularized in the area as being known for the city that Portugal came from. So they say locally, Portugal was born here in Guimajeres. So the sign on the city wall even proclaims it there upon your entry. And this is because Guimajeres was home to the first king of Portugal, Afonso I. And he managed to win his kingdom's independence in the 12th century from neighboring townships. This wonderfully well-preserved old town has extremely unique architecture. The houses combine timbering with amazing granite. So it's a very, very unique and interesting, charming little plazas. This is a designated UNESCO World Heritage Site once again as well. You get to visit the splendid monastery and the Church of Our Lady of Oliveira, as well as the 14th century Gothic Pedrao of Salado. So just remember that despite all these historic beauties, Guimajeres has the youngest population of any city in Europe. So the pedestrian area is full of lively cafes, fun shops, lots of music. So you'll see lots of young people there in town. And then that evening, I believe John is going to chat with us a little bit about what the MOAA Charities team has in store.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. What a fantastic cruise Uniworld has put together for us. So tonight is the last night on board. MOAA Charities will host one last cocktail reception. It's your chance to say goodbye to friends old and new. And then after dinner, the ship is once again overnighting in Porto. So you can head back up to the lounge for a few more goodbyes, or of course, another opportunity to disembark, get out and, see the local, hang out locally, see the city at night, I guess is what I was meaning to say. So we wake up the next morning, day 8, and this is disembarkation day. Definitely not a fun day on most cruises. No one really enjoys standing around in hallways or other venues on a ship waiting for your color to be called, sitting there wondering, are they ever going to call Purple 11? Then you get to disembark and wander around and try finding your luggage. So once again, we talked about embarkation. Disembarkation is going to be a much more enjoyable experience. This is your vacation. All of it should be fun. So first off, you can leave whenever you'd like. If you have a 7 a.m. flight and you need to get to the airport, or you want to leave for the airport at 4 a.m., absolutely, we can take care of that for you. Most people aren't going to leave that early. So when you get up in the morning, you're invited to have breakfast. After breakfast, you do need to vacate your staterooms. They do need to start cleaning them for the next sailing that leaves that evening. But once you vacate your cabin, you're more than welcome to stay on board. You can go up to the lounge. Your vacation continues the entire time you're on board, so your unlimited beverage package is still in force. So you can head up, have a cocktail, just hang out, have a light snack. If you're still on board when lunch is served, you are invited to join for lunch. Same thing that I mentioned when we talked about embarkation. Or you can get off the ship. Perhaps you need to run in town real quick and get those last few souvenirs that you need to pick up. So whenever you're ready or whenever it's time to go, you just venture back to the ship. They'll have your baggage and they take you to the airport. Of course, just because the cruise ends doesn't mean your vacation needs to. Uniworld does offer a 3-night extension in Lisbon. This has proved to be very popular. Most of the people that go to Portugal do want to go to Lisbon. This is open to everyone on the MOAA Charities cruise, but it isn't actually part of the MOAA Charities cruise. Everyone on the motor coach from Porto to Lisbon will be our group, so it is an exclusive bus. And when we do the city tour, that is also a city tour just for our group. And everyone in our group will be staying at the same hotel, but but of course there'll be other guests at that hotel, so it won't be quite the exclusive experience we just had on board the Sal Gabriel. There is room for everyone who sails on the MOAA Charities cruise to do the Lisbon extension if they would like. From experience, we know not everyone will do that. And I did want to just touch real quick on excursions. And that is when we did, for example, the 2019 Paris and Normandy cruises, the majority of people did some type of pre or post extension to that cruise. We all know Europe's a long ways away. If you're going to go that far, a lot of people want to stay longer than 7 or 8 days. So that's certainly up to you, whatever you'd like to do. MOAA Vacations is here to help. I mean, we can help with your air. We can also help with pre and post, or any part of that you'd like us to do. Do your own pre, have us help with the post. And that's anything from if you just want to fly in one night early and do a pre-night in Porto, to if you want to add a second cruise or a tour. We had people in 2019 that did that. We had a group of people that were on board after that cruise. They went to Italy and did a land tour. We had people that got off that cruise and then hopped on a Cunard, British Isles cruise. So it's really whatever you'd like to do. If you're all the way over there, there's other things you want to see, let us know. We will help with anything that you'd like to do.
Great idea.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to talk about the ship, and so this actually is the deck plan of the ship. I've gotten a number of texts while we were talking. I apologize if anybody noticed me looking at my phone. But this map is no longer accurate. We've had a number of people that have already selected their staterooms or suites while we're talking. So once again, once you decide to go, let us know. But know that you can't look at this map right now and say, I want 301 because 301 might be gone. So this is the deck plan. You can see there's 5 different stateroom type, or actually there's 5 different cabin types. There's 3 staterooms, and then the suites and the grand suites. And I'll get to those in just a second. We'll look at those and we'll kind of compare and contrast. But when we look at this, we look at the pricing. And first off, the pricing, we've talked already about Interworld being an all-inclusive experience. So the prices do not include the port charges or your airfare. And then trip insurance isn't included, but highly recommended. But the way we design this and all the signature groups, and obviously this isn't a signature group, but we design this like the signature groups, that everything's included. And the way we like to say it is from the moment you're picked up at the airport until the moment they drop you off at the airport, you don't have to spend another penny if you don't want to. So we've talked about some of this before, but we'll just recap. Your transfers are included. The gratuities are included for not only everyone on board the ship, but for everyone involved with the excursions. The portage when you get to the pier or when you're leaving is included. Unlimited beverage package. What else did I was going to say? There's one other one missing. Oh, well. Everything, and all the excursions, I'm sorry, that's a big one. So all the excursions we went through are included as well. So basically you get on board and there's really nothing you need to spend any additional money on. And a lot of times I say it's easier to explain what's not included than go through everything that's included. So there is an onboard laundry service that's available. There is a fee for that. That is actually waived if you're a past passenger of Uniworld. It is one of the past passenger benefits that but if you needed laundry done, and this is a shorter cruise, but if you had something you wanted laundered, that's available. On the unlimited beverage package, that is unlimited beer, wine by the glass, and spirits and cocktails. There is bottled wine and champagne available for an additional fee. If you have a special occasion that you're celebrating and that evening you want to have a special bottle of wine, they are available for purchase. You can also purchase something any day. We talk a lot about port. If you're off the ship one day and you purchase a bottle of port, you can bring that back on board and enjoy that yourself or share it with your table mates. On the unlimited beverage package, there is also some what they call ultra premium spirits that are not included. The way I always describe this, if this is not your first webinar, you've heard me say this before. I just use the example that if you go to one of the lounges or you order a drink, that Johnny Walker Red and Johnny Walker Black are included. They do have Johnny Walker Blue for those who want to pay for it. but that is an additional expense. Now, one of the great things, and I always want to thank Ashley when I get to this point of it, we have such a great relationship with Uniworld. They actually offer a special onboard credit amenity to MOAA members and MOAA members guests. So whether it's on a signature group or just you and your in-laws or your friends go, this is offered to everybody, is a $300 onboard credit, $150 per person on every Uniworld sail. Mentioned almost everything's included, but just in case you want a bottle of wine one evening, or you want that Johnny Walker Blue, or I'm sorry, one other thing I failed to mention. There are a couple of shore excursions that are available for purchase as well. Now, those shore excursions are during the same time as the complimentary excursion. So they're kind of a unique little quirky things that you might want to consider. But know that if you go on one of those excursions, you're going to miss one of the excursions that Ashley mentioned. So back to the $300, you can use that for one of those shore excursions for alcohol. And if you get to the end of the cruise and you haven't spent your $300, they do have a gift shop on board. So go get yourself a Uniworld windbreaker, or I know from experience they have some jewelry on board. I got my daughter earrings on a cruise once because we had the money. It's better to spend it than lose it. So just everything's kind of included. So let's start looking at the cabins that we have. We're going to start with the Grand Suite. Now, this is a couple of pictures of the Grand Suite, and it's always difficult with cruise cabins to get a really good feel for them from just pictures. But hopefully these two pictures give you somewhat of an idea of the decor that you will expect on this. The Grand Suites, as I mentioned, are the largest staterooms that are on board. They are 307 square feet. And we'll move on to the suite. Oh, and they're on deck 3. And then we move to the suites. And here's a couple pictures of the suites that are on board. The suites are a little bit smaller, 220 square feet. But both the suites and the Grand Suites do have butler service. And if you've ever sailed before in a suite on a cruise with butler service, it's something at one point, either this cruise or future cruise, you ought to try one time. It is really a phenomenal experience. Basically, when you see the butlers going around the ship, you'll see that they have like a phone / walkie-talkie with them at all times. If you pick up the phone in your suite, you will always get a butler. You will have one butler that's designated to your suite. But when he's off duty, because they don't work 24/7, they sleep once in a while, another butler will cover for them. So anytime, day or night, you can pick up your phone and there's a butler there to get you whatever you want or need. Sometimes people ask what that entails. The way we always describe it to people is anything you need, just ask your butler for it. And that would be, if you want room service, you talk to your butler for room service. They do stock your room for you. One of the examples that we have once was we talked about bringing like a bottle of port on board for dinner. Say that you bring a bottle of port on board, and then once you get it back on board, you realize that you're not just going to have dinner, the 2 of you or the 4 of you, but now you're going to be at a larger table and one bottle just isn't going to suffice.
Yeah, you made friends. Yeah, you made friends.
Yeah, exactly. So there's been instances before where people call their butler and, ask if they've got time to get off and get it or whatever. And the butler will just jump off the ship, run to the little bodega and pick up the bottle of wine for you. So it really is a luxurious experience. That's something everyone should try. So those are the suites. We're going to move on now to a French balcony. And 2 things real quick. You may notice the little note that says not actual stateroom. Believe it or not, we've talked about the Sal Gabriel being a new ship. Uniworld does not have pictures of the staterooms. Those were actual pictures of the suites, but there are currently no pictures of the staterooms. So these are actually pictures of French balcony staterooms. And then in a second, we're going to look at the classic and the deluxe rooms from other Uniworld ships. So on the San Gabriel, this is what your stateroom will look like. However, this is an older ship. So your French balcony room will look like this, only nicer. I like this slide in particular because it gives you a great view of the French balcony. And not a lot of people know exactly what a French balcony is. So if you see it, you've got your little table and your chairs, and you got the sliding glass doors. And because of the narrowness of the river and the locks that you go through, all the river ships have a limit to how wide they can be. So rather than having a step out balcony, those sliding glass doors open, and in fact, your entire room becomes a balcony. So you just open those doors, railings there. Ashley and I joked on the last webinar that depending on your shoe size, you can actually step out on the balcony. So I think it's woman 6, there's like 5-6 inches you can step out. A lot of us men, there's not enough room to step out there, but it isn't really a step out balcony that you have. But it's a great place to, have, coffee or Danishes delivered in the morning or in the evening, have a glass of wine and sit there and look out over your French balcony. We talked before about the Grand Suite and the suites. They do have French balconies on those. I just thought that was a better picture. So the entire deck 2 is French balconies. So on deck 3, we have the suites and the Grand Suites. If you remember back to that deck plan we showed, the deck underneath that, we have the French balcony staterooms. And then down on deck 1, we have the deluxe rooms. The deluxe rooms are the same size as the suites, 220 square feet. But as you can see, because this is the lowest deck on deck 1, you don't have the balconies. In fact, you don't even have full picture windows. You just have the partial windows because of the level of the ship we're on. And then the only other category there are a few what they call classic rooms on board. The classic rooms are basically the same as the deluxe rooms. They're a little bit smaller. They're 135 square feet. Ashley, if you want to slide down to that slide.
I do, but I just wanted one correction. The deluxe are not the same as the suites from a square footage standpoint. The deluxe are not 220. The deluxe are 156 square feet. So I just wanted to make that one correction before we move to the next slide.
Okay. The deluxe are the same size as the French balcony rooms, correct?
That is correct. They're both 156 square feet, the deluxe and the French.
Okay. I must have misspoke. I apologize about that. All right. And then here's a picture of an example of what the classic rooms look like. Once again, they're like the deluxe rooms, only slightly smaller. So those are the staterooms that are available. Same procedure we mentioned in the beginning. Once you decide that you want to go and you decide which type of accommodations you would like, please fill out that booking form. And then someone here will give you a call back and let you pick from the staterooms that remain. So that's the end of the presentation. We're now going to do the Q&A. Real quick, before we get into Q&A, I did want to talk about the onboard COVID safety protocols. We are talking about sailing a year away. So anything that we talk about today is really what currently is going on. The expectations from everyone is by next year, everything will be back to normal. But let's talk about where we are right now. So Uniworld is going to resume sailing on May 30th. The first sailing that they are going to do will actually be the inaugural sailing of the San Gabriel for Portugal. All the ships have been re-outfitted with the UV disinfecting on the air purifier systems. They all now have the cleaning protocols that are in place. They have that spray that they put down that is the antiviral or the antibacterial. And what a lot of people don't know is there have been cruises that have been going on since August of last year in both Europe and Asia. And actually, this statistic is about a month old, but as of a month ago, over 350,000 people had sailed during the pandemic. Closer to home, we talked about the Mississippi River Cruise. American Queen, so just one river cruise company, and there's several of them in this country, but American Queen resumed sailing in March 15th of this year. And they have their COVID protocols in place that are similar to what all of the companies are doing, which is the cleaning and the air purification and whatever. So they've had about 40 cruises sail already and have had no incidents whatsoever. So, our primary concern is going to be the safety of MOAA members in anything we do. And we wouldn't be promoting these cruises if we didn't know that they were going to be safe. And it's sort of like we mentioned, on this particular cruise, you're going to have MOAA staff and MOAA Charities staff on board. On the Mississippi River cruise, we have MOAA's General Counsel Joe Lynch going. On the European holiday markets, both MOAA's President and CEO, Lieutenant General Atkins, and the board chairman, General Sharp, are going on that sailing. So we're confident that what they have in place is going to make this a safe experience. And as I mentioned, this particular cruise is leaving in over a year from now. But currently the protocols are, if you're going to go on a cruise with Uniworld, you need to either be vaccinated or have a negative COVID test. So everyone on board will be tested or vaccinated. So if there's any other questions on that, we do have information. Uniworld does have an entire flyer that kind of goes through what all those protocols are. But without any further ado, I am going to introduce Kristen Stotts. She is the Senior Manager of Business Development at MOAA headquarters. And Kristen's going to join us, and Kristen is going to help us out with the questions. So, Kristen, do we have a first question today?
John, we actually only have one question right now. So if anyone does want to submit a question, please type it into the question box and we'll be happy to answer that out loud for you. Before we get to that, I just want to, number one, thank everyone for attending today. We really appreciate you taking the time to learn about this opportunity. There will be a survey after this for you to let us know where you'd like us to consider for future travels. So please take the time to fill that out. And again, thank you for being here. Right now, the only question is, you mentioned that coffee is available on board. What about lattes, cappuccinos, and more specialized caffeinated beverages?
Yes, we do have, if you are a coffee aficionado like myself, you will have access to lattes, cappuccinos, Americanos on board. We do have the cappuccino machine. So if you'd like to DIY, do it yourself, you have full access to those. And if you'd prefer that you have our bartenders make it for you, you can go to the bar and have a special one made just for you. And it comes on a little silver platter. Handled mug. So just depending on the level of service you're looking for, you can make one yourself with the self-service option, or you can have one made for you by a staff member.
Yeah, and I'm going to add something to that, not on coffee, not being a coffee aficionado myself, but just kind of talk, expand a little bit on the service that is on board. And a couple of examples is, you're on board on day 2 and you have a dessert you really like. There's nothing that says, because it's not on the menu, if you want it again day 3 or 4, that you can't ask for it again. Probably the most frequent thing is wine. Someone will have a wine one evening and they really like it, and they'll ask if they can have it again the next evening or a future evening. Not our cruise. I want to make sure I'm clear about that, but Uniworld does have some sailings that are geared towards families, and I've gone on a couple of those. And I remember one night we were at dinner, and my daughter was probably 12 or 13 at the time, so it was a few years ago. And she wanted French fries, and so they brought her French fries. And I swear, with all the families that were on board, I think every table was getting French fries by a couple of days later. So for sure, and I know that's true of a lot of cruises, particularly luxury cruise brands. That they're very flexible. So yes, they can not only get you the coffee that you want, they can get you the food that you want, the wine that you want. So when you're on board, always ask, and they will do everything they can to fulfill that. Any other questions?
We do. We have some coming in now.
Excellent.
How much does the optional 3-day in Lisbon cost?
$800 per person.
Perfect. About how many people, guests, will be on board the ship?
There are 50 staterooms, so a maximum of 100 people. So I'm just going to say 100 people will be on board.
100 passengers, and that's not including the staff, but yes, 100 passengers.
Yes.
Do you have any information on what hotel will be used in Lisbon?
I don't personally have that information committed to memory, but we can get it for you, and we can have the MOAA Vacations team send that out.
Perfect. We have some qualifying questions just about the COVID protocols. If you are already vaccinated, do you have to wear a mask on board? And then if booster vaccines are required, will that be required next year to get on board?
It's impossible to talk about, I'm sorry, it's just difficult, I'll say. It's difficult to talk about what's going to be required next year without knowing where the states are going to be, where Europe's going to be. But the expectations are, you know, I mentioned Mississippi River Queen. The restrictions or the protocols or whatever you want to call it are loosening as time goes forward. So I can tell you that if you were to cruise in June, or on the May 30th sailing, that you're going to see the crew wearing masks. We'd expect that that will no longer be required by the time we get to our December cruise for people that are fully vaccinated. You know, you just look in the States, and I know we've got people from all across the country now, but it seems like every week another state or two is getting rid of the mask mandate. And I'm coming to you today from Kansas, and I can tell you that Monday of this week was when the state of Kansas got rid of their mask mandate. So certainly when we look towards the July cruise, and I just bring that up because that's the first signature group we've got going that will go during this. The anticipation is everybody on that sailing will be vaccinated. We'll probably have the crew wearing masks, but both on the ship and off the ship, the people on that cruise will not be wearing masks. And of course, when I say not be wearing masks, you know, if you feel more comfortable wearing a mask, you can absolutely wear a mask. But so when I say won't be wearing masks, there won't be a mask mandate.
Is there single passenger options or suite sharing?
We can help you do what we call a single share. And what we do in those instances is you would select the stateroom category that you wanted, and then we would find someone to share that with you. We're not Match.com, so it's going to be you know, we'll find some either a female roommate or a male roommate for you. We've done that, and it's always worked really well. So no, there is not a single rate.
And I think there's just one qualifying question. Somebody received a 2022 Uniworld brochure that talked about Portugal 11-day cruises for the same time as MOAA. They are asking, is anyone besides MOAA going to be allowed to sign up for the June 5th cruise?
No. And that's I mentioned that earlier, and I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. This is an exclusive departure for MOAA. If you have a brochure that lists the July 5th date in it, that just means that brochure was printed prior to us reserving the entire ship. So basically what we do on this, which is what we do on the signature groups as well, is we go to Uniworld and we basically purchase the entire ship. And since we purchase the entire ship, and the industry term is we charter it. So since we charter the ship, it is ours to do really within reason anything we want. So one of the ones that always comes up is sometimes people ask about a tire on board. Since it's our sailing and we don't have to worry about non-MOAA members who are on board, we can actually set the attire to be whatever we want. And what we've always done in the past on that is we make it casual. So if tie's not required for men, if you want to wear a jacket to dinner, you can. Most of the time, you'll see people do it either because they're comfortable wearing a jacket or it might be cool that evening. I'm certainly not asking women to wear sequin gowns or anything like that. But by the flip side, if for whatever reason it's your anniversary and you and your partner both want to wear, you know, dress to the nines, you can do that. And just to clarify, when we say only MOAA on board, I'm just going to go back to the same thing. It's MOAA members and their guests. So in the past, we've had people bring their kids, we've had them bring, siblings, so, me and my spouse will be in one room, and next door it's my brother and my sister-in-law in the cabin. Or, I'll bring along, and my daughter isn't old enough yet, but, you bring along your kids and their spouses or whatever. So, but everyone will be somehow or another affiliated with MOAA or related to somebody at MOAA.
And I think that's all we have for questions right now.
Excellent.
Oh, hold on. One just came in. They're asking if this
actually ran just a couple minutes long, but sure, we got time.
Just one more. Is this an adult cruise, all guests over age 18?
It is not.
No, Uniworld allows children ages 4 and up year-round. I know not all river cruise lines allow children on board, but Uniworld is one of the few that does. Again, ages 4 and up, so no infants, no babies, just preschool age children and up. And as John previously mentioned, all MOAA members are welcome to bring any immediate family or friends. So it is likely that some folks may bring children on board, but again, those children have to be ages 4 and up.
Yeah, and I'm going to expand upon that real quick, because I can't speak to the half dozen or whatever cabins that were booked today, but I can tell you, if we just look at the 4 special groups that we've talked about today, everyone is over the age of 21 on the Mississippi River. Everyone who's booked so far on both European markets and on the Tulip Time for Holland and Belgium is also over the age of 21. In fact, I think on both of those sailings, everyone is over the age of 40. We do have someone who booked on this cruise already, who is bringing her grandson along with her. And off the top of my head, I can't say how old he is. I think 16, but something in that range. So it's not an infant. But if a MOAA member wants to bring someone and there's not a restriction, we're certainly not going to be the person to tell them they can't. But on the flip side, it is not going to be a sailing that you get on and you would expect to have, a lot of kids. So basically what I would say is there's one person under the age of 18 on the next 4 MOAA signature or charities cruises. So will we maybe get 1 or 2 more? That's always a possibility, but I wouldn't expect it. And I'm sure if we pressed Ashley on it, she would tell you, other than their family sailings or their sailings that are family themed, they don't get a lot. I've taken my daughter on a Uniworld sailing before that wasn't one of the family cruises, and I think there was 3 kids on it total on the entire ship, and that was actually a larger ship than this, a ship that had 70 cabins. So yeah, I think that answers the question, unless there's a follow-up to it.
Yeah, it's not very common.
And I think that's it for us.
Well, once again, I want to thank everybody. I'll reiterate what Kristen said. As soon as you log off of this webinar, the survey will pop up on your screen. We'd really appreciate it if you just take a minute or 2 and complete that. We love your feedback. We've done a number of these. I'm sure we'll do them in the future. And any comments or suggestions that you might have, just help us do these even better. Other than that, you have both the contact information for MOAA Charities as well as MOAA Vacations. We'd love to hear from you. Any questions, get a hold of us. But thank you for taking an hour plus out of your day to listen to us. We're glad you were here.
Thank you so much. Good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.